one.
Welcome to Mark My Words. Hello, this is Paul Uhrig. Mark My Words is a podcast series offering a glimpse of alternative paradigms hiding just beneath the surface of everyday life, where our first question is always, what if? And we're once again here with Mark Cornelius, author of Rut Management and Marginalized, and also Unmeasuring. And so, what we have here is our what if question, which is, what if we disagree? And hey there, Mark, I think I can see you now. Mark, what do you have on your mind today concerning some of the contents of your books, Marginalized and Unmeasuring?
Well, thanks, Paul. We are at a milestone here, and I'm going to share something here in a second. As a matter of fact, is our now we're getting almost traditional in this to go to a teaser, but the transition is really taking us from the steps of looking at particular books, rep management, un, marginalized and unmeasuring, and etc., and taking it to another plateau, if you will. And that is seeking out ways and methods of critical thinking. And there's a caution there because there's a school of thought on critical thinking, uh, and being uh, the outright rebel I am, I don't ascribe to that particular critical thinking format because it's very Greek. Oh boy, and that would start an argument with someone else if we got into that. So what I'm going to say is we're going to examine critical thinking in a different way, and we're going to kind of we are creating actually, little critical thinking club, and we ask anyone who wants to join in or to counter propose how they critical think, see if we can't come to some conclusions, agreements, and that starts with a question. So, thinkers, welcome in and answer this for me, but don't answer it out loud yet. Why should we disagree? So, that takes us to a whole discussion there, Paul. You and I have sat down over a cup of coffee many times. Coffee, yay! And
That we have.
and we have talked about the art of disagreement. And you hear the phrase, and I'm going to throw it out there. Well, I just disagree with you, Paul. So we're just going to have to agree to disagree, right?
Yes, and that's a loaded statement.
Absolutely, it is. Because if you leave it there, you have things called divisions and you have things called opinions. And I hold my opinion, you hold your opinion. We hold these things dear and precious to us, and we're not budging. We're not going to budge. As a matter of fact, this is the opposite. I'm going to try to prove to you that my opinion is the better. And you're going to try to prove to me the same. However, we have this mindset. We're just going to have to agree to disagree. You go nowhere. That is a circle to nowhere, right? So, okay, we just agreed on something, by the way. I think that's really great. Let's celebrate. I'm going to have a little coffee here.
Yeah. Sometimes that works in a situation where you're just kind of talking in a very casual manner. Sometimes when you're thinking deeper, then that element really stands out, that what you've done is postpone or figure out another way to come to some kind of determination without
Now,
actually agreeing on something or coming to a solution, which is what critical thinking, in my words, is about.
it's why we took the path of looking at rut management, starting on a path that there are people in your rut with you, that they're along the way you're going to encounter marginalize it. And we just, covered all of that with, what this person is or is not worth having a discussion with. Okay, if they are worth it, we're just going to sit down and agree to disagree. What? That's what kind of a conversation? Honestly, that's what I want to marginalize. I'm tired of agreeing to disagree. I want to go another route here. So into critical thinking. So then we start listening in a different way. And here we are talking about this very thing, right? So that's where we're going to lead up to the next screen, if I can pull it up here. So why should we disagree? So we're going back to root language here. Can you see that on the screen?
Absolutely.
Okay. In disagreement, I mean, honestly, if we're thinking critically, okay, all you thinkers out there, it's part of the conversation along that root journey. Agreement is the ultimate destination, though. Okay. So, yeah, we have to test what we think. I've had a couple of great discussions this week with another good friend of mine. You're not my only one, but Paul, but and we're discussing other ideas, and I'm not going to go on the squirrel path other than to say we're talking about forgiveness and grace and mercy and what those all mean. Well, that's a wow. There's all sorts of things there. That's another podcast series altogether. But we agree on most things, my friend and I. But there are little nuances, and we're saying, okay, well, we're not going to stop there and say, well, we're just going to have to form our own denominations and go on from there. Oh my gosh, there's another episode. But anyway,
No kidding.
the idea is let's find out what we disagree on. That's good. That's healthy. But then that's a part of the path toward finding a higher cause, an agreement we can both aim for. So there are two different methods of disagreement, as far as I can tell, and you correct me if I'm wrong. But there are people who disagree to avoid a commitment to an idea or a principle, and all they're trying to do is diminish any kind of truth, especially one with a capital T. You notice I capitalize that. Uh-oh. Okay. Some people are thinking we're crazy. What in the world are you talking about? But others are going, yeah, I don't care one way or the other. And, frankly, if I can get out of doing any thinking, I'm just going to do that by disagreeing with everything I hear. I know what I believe in, and I'm fine all by myself. Have at it, have at it. But that's not going to get the relationship going with anyone else. And by the way, another caution: I have another friend I talked to about this. I talked about getting deeper relationships. He said, "Well, I only have a few very close friends." I'm like, "Fine, I'm not talking about friendship. I'm talking about relationship." You know, again, there's a big difference there. So there are others who disagree to pursue an enlightened framework for constructing sound ideas and principles to solidify truth. Okay? And the question that's raised in the book, Unmeasuring, is what if we are all wrong? Begs another question: is there a right to chase after? And who knows what that is? I like to think I know. I'm pretty sure I know it's not my truth, but I know there's one out there. Okay. So, how do I chase that? How do I invite others to chase it with me? How do we get past our disagreements toward an ultimate agreement? So, I'm firing right through this. How are we doing on time?
We're doing great.
Okay. Uh oh.
Here comes your big question that goes along with
Uh-oh.
agreement, disagreement.
Yeah.
What is truth?
I'm still capitalizing that. And there are going to be people out there. Welcome in, folks. We'll have that conversation. They're going to put a little t on there. There are many truths. And some are even going to say, they're going to go with that other argument that, I'm going to avoid any commitment at all. They're going to be those postmodern folk who say, there are so many truths out there that there's no truth at all. Let
That's right. It totally
that one
negates the
hang
truth of
out
the
there.
truth.
Say, wait a
Yeah.
minute. Wait a minute. What's that mean? Thinkers. Okay, so what is truth? Is there an ultimate truth? My position is I capitalize it because I think there's an ultimate truth out there. It's not my truth. It's not Paul's truth. It's not, we don't have that capability of completing that truth unless we recognize that it's out there and we join in together to try to come to agreement on it. Am I on base, off base? I mean,
Well, actually, I'm following you clearly here, and what I'm hearing by listening to you, exactly that where you've just popped it up there, Mark, is that the truth is as you're seeing it right here. That particular big T truth is, as you've said here, the sum of all agreement based on the pursuit of the greatest good. And I know we've spoken about the common good, the greatest good. I know that you have mentioned those. It runs through, it persists throughout a lot of your work and a lot of the books that you've written. Uh, what is the greatest good?
oh.
I know.
Okay,
How
now
do we answer that?
okay, cool. Thank you for thinking, Paul. I love this. This is where it gets really fun. So first of all, I do want to point out that you and I and lots of other people have talked about a quote unquote greater good, ER on the end of that. Okay. I want to point out the subtle change here that I put on there. Greatest good. Wow. Okay, now who am I to define that? Right? I could pursue a greater good. And then it begs the question. So can you, by the way, and so could anyone. Now, when we start getting together, there's a balancing that goes on. I dare say a measuring. Okay, we're supposed to unmeasure, but once we get unmeasured, then we start saying, okay, somewhere along the line, we've got to conclude that there is a greatest good. We need to agree to fill in the blank, agree, right?
That's
So,
exactly right.
thinkers, what is the greatest good? Can that question be answered? I believe it's been answered, but to answer it, we ultimately must agree not to disagree. Again, disagreement is a part of the journey, not the destination.
Yeah, that's a grand point right here that you're making, and we're just about out of time for this podcast,
Woohoo!
which of course is going to lead us into the second question. Why should we agree?
Why
Now,
should
Mark, can you tease us a bit with that just to make sure that we're kind of screwed into this, our heads are screwed in straight?
I think I can. I'll make this fundamentally quick, and then I also want to point out as we're going through this, this is going to be a continuing conversation in our next discussions. We're going to be exploring truth. We're going to be defining it better. We're going to become more adept at discussing it without anyone concluding anything other than that it exists. And then we'll take that next path, obviously, to start pursuing that as critical thinkers. That's our club. exploring the real truth with a capital T. So,
That's grand.
disagreement is only a tool for testing the strength and foundation of that word, agreement, on which that greatest, with an EST, truth rests. Okay? Agreement is only a foundation. It's not, it doesn't get us to the ultimate point because that ultimate point already exists. All we can do is build a foundation, then we can start building the real house. The real house is that of capital T truth.
So the path that you have suggested here is that, of course, instead of trying to separate in a terms of, as we say when we disagree, separate or polarize, we must listen to one another to create what we would consider to be a basis for which we can continue our rut path. Am
Yeah,
I thinking in the same direction as you?
you are. I mean, we have to at some point agree that this exists. Otherwise, we're not in the same rut. We're not going to be aiming for the same thing. And at some point you got to say, hey guys, if you want to pursue untruth and non-truth and a lesser truth and a or nothing at all, have at it. You're going to be agreeing to disagree the rest of your life. I don't know what that life looks like. I know what it used to look like because I used to be that person, by the way. The only way I know that person exists out there is I was that guy. Okay. Until I realized, wait a minute, I am alone out here. I am, even though there are other people who disagree with me, meaning there's a group of disagreeers out there, we are each and every one of us alone. Then suddenly I found a group of people who wanted to agree and realized, wow, we're all together in this thing. There's a rut that we're traveling together. I want that. So I know that other group. I can talk that talk. I just don't live it anymore.
Right, and you know what, that brings up the perhaps maybe another qualifier of temporary truths versus the ultimate capital T truth. And your notion of agreement is a true basis for not only establishing that, but also establishing, as you mentioned, a shared rut
Yes.
or other elements that lead us to our destination, which is, of course, as you mentioned earlier, agreement. Well, I am sorry, Mark. It appears as if we're out of time.
Well,
So
we're
what?
supposed to be out of time. That's a truism right there. At this point we have achieved what we were supposed to achieve today. So other than putting out our contact information, I think, right?
Let's pop that up while I'm talking here. And what if we continue this conversation into the next episode?
Oh, I'm loving that. So mark my words. This is a podcast for critical thinkers, and we haven't even defined that others who think differently. Uh, there are those out there who are critically thinking in many different ways. So, what if we try to get together on that subject right there? You can email us at markcwrites@gmail.com. There's a Facebook page out there for Mark My Words. Be free to go in there and input. Uh, you can check out the books that kind of walk this whole path through at rutmanagement.com. Love to hear from you there. And then we have finally got our corrected YouTube link there. Hooray, it works for everyone. Um,
Wonderful.
so I'll be putting that out after we finish this up today. But we'd love to have you come in, listen to that, check it out, agree or disagree, and let's pursue the ultimate path of agreeing toward truth with a capital T.
Excellent, Mark. I'm looking forward to getting together with you with for our next episode. And with this in mind, and with the information that's there for our listeners and for the folks that are taking a peek at some of your publications. It'll be very good for them to, at some point, either copy and paste this into your browser or just click on the links and off we go. In the meantime, Mark, as always, it's great talking with you. And I guess we'll just go ahead and sign off for now. And I guess we'll see you on the next episode.
And in the meantime, ask yourself, thinkers, what is truth with a capital T? Okay, I'm signing off,
Absolutely.
Paul.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. We'll talk to you next time.